Hey everyone, welcome to Guitar Dudes. I'm John, and as always is
Brian, co-pilot,
Delaney.
partner in crime.
What's going on, man? What's going on? 2020.
2020. Yeah, here we are.
Here,
Sunday afternoon, middle of a pandemic.
middle.
No idea who the president is.
No idea. We still don't know. So I know some
So
people may
but here we are. We still got
surviving.
our guitars. They can't take our guitars.
No,
So,
they can't. They can't.
as long as it's alone,
But
we're good. So,
what's been
yeah,
going on? I
been a
mean,
while.
yes. So it's been.
So, what have you? COVID. That's pretty much all that's happened since the last time we did Guitar Dudes.
Yes.
COVID.
COVID has not slowed me down. And I think because as a songwriter, as a recording artist, I'm not worried about gigging. Although I do feel bad for some of those that that's their livelihood is playing shows.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, and really for you, because I don't think you really play any shows, do you?
No. I mean, the occasional, little birthday party or get together or
Yeah.
done a couple funerals. Hey, a gig's a gig,
All right.
but
Whoa.
nothing's
So
going on.
you actually played funerals. I got to hear more about this. What?
Yeah. Well, or more like celebrate. I've done some stuff, some celebration of life,
Yeah.
and just some, and it's not even like you're not performing,
Right.
you're not playing a song. You know what I mean? Like you don't have a set list.
Right.
It's just kind of some ambient,
Okay.
pretty background stuff, and
That's cool.
but yeah, nothing. Actually, through COVID, I've been just jamming. Honestly, I mean, just playing.
Yeah.
Um,
And releasing a new album for me once again, it didn't slow me down at all.
mm-hmm.
I didn't have to wear, I was at home, so I didn't have to wear a mask. Could you imagine laying down vocals
Oh man,
with the damn mask on?
well, yeah, it's bad enough when like reporters or whoever try to report with a mask on,
Yeah.
and it's just I thought about we should have just worn masks today just to illustrate how horrible it sounds. But
Where's mine?
yeah,
Yeah.
but no recording here. I've actually dove a little deeper into the digital recording age.
That's right. So, you've gone full digital now, right?
Gone full digital. Yeah. No. Although I still like some of the analog and the actual knobs. That I'm old school. I mean I'm an old kind of nuts and bolts kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I like to turn knobs and push buttons, and now it's with a mouse, so you got to click the knob.
Yeah.
And even the buttons are digital, so it's a whole, feels like Star Trek. So,
but that's where we are now. In fact, I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about just that, and they were comparing, say, a compressor. They were comparing an actual physical compressor, an analog compressor that you can turn knobs, versus its digital counterpart as a plug-in. And they said even though that you may not be able to hear much difference, it's that feel of turning knobs,
Yeah. And I think that's, it's like, it's kind of off camera, but like behind me, I have a digital rig.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of and on these things, there's all kinds of pedals that you can simulate.
Yeah.
But then to my left, I actually have a Tweed tube amp, and with knobs and lights that glow and even make a little noise, to kind of make it feel a little more human.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, when you ride in an old car, you can smell the carburetor.
Yes.
You can smell the rubber. I mean, you know what I mean? And but digital, it's clean. But yeah, I've been impressed so far. I'm still kind of feeling it out a little bit, but we're getting there. So you've done quite a bit of recording during the break.
Yeah. So since the last time we did an episode, I know I did one. I can't remember if it's been 2 albums since then, but yeah, I'm same way. I'm full digital. I use Logic Pro X. I know a lot of people talk about Pro Tools. Pro Tools to me, there's too many drop down menus for me. I want something that I can just get my level. It
went way over my head. Pro I tried it. No.
No.
Nope, couldn't figure it out. It's
No.
for smart people, not for old.
It's not for old people.
Not
It's
for old people
no.
like me.
It's great for people who are using Pro Tools, and you can send the file. It's a what they call P2P, person to person. I get that. I only do stuff with myself, or Brian and I. We're gonna start sending stuff back and forth. But you see, nowadays we have two different programs. All I have to do is send you a WAV file or MP3. Say here, drop a guitar track, and then you send me back the file, and we do that in Dropbox or Google Drive, and that's where we are technology-wise with recording. I mean, we're 1,500 miles, 2,000 miles away, but we can record digitally.
Yeah, we can collab. We can kind of send each other little, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of that?
Yeah.
So that'd be cool. So
yeah.
I mean, it's definitely we're living in the future.
We
like
are.
the stuff that we're able to do now versus when we first started out playing.
Oh yeah,
it's just incredible.
And the technology is going fast.
Oh yeah, totally. And you can go two directions, and there's a million arguments depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
You can go. I mean, I've talked to guitarists that have gone completely digital, like I'm not gonna. There's no pedals. There's no amp. It's a laptop. And you know what? It sounds. I'm not gonna say it sounds better, but it sounds great.
Right.
But then you got the guys that'll only use only use their pedals and only and each has its own merits, but there's definitely there's kind of two paths you can go down now for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think for us, because we grew up in the analog age. I mean, we listened to cassettes. That's records. I mean, but we grew up in the analog age, and I remember even at college, we had that crossover. In fact, my class was the crossover where we went from those big, huge rolls, the 24 track, the things weighed like 10, 20 pounds. It weighed, it's heavy. And then my sophomore year, we went digital. So I got a taste of it in, having to degauss the recorder. That was, but before and after, you got to degauss it, you got to wipe it out with alcohol. And some people are like, what the hell are y'all talking about? But before digital, they had these huge machines that ran these big, what was it, 2-inch tape? The 24 track tape was like 2 inches or 3 inches?
Yeah.
They were huge.
Yeah, and if you made a mistake, you had to get a razor blade.
Yes.
And, cut and splice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's but analog. It has its own distinct sound though too.
It does.
Like you hear these old records, these old analog records from like the 70s. They just sound amazing.
Yeah.
It's just a natural. Now today everything's nice and clean and polished, and I spend more time with my rig tracing out the slightest hum. Or the slightest little what is that?
Yeah.
But back in the day, you didn't. I mean, that's all part of the experience. You'd kick the amp or something and hope for the best.
Yeah. So, in fact, both of us, we actually used the same amps. Fender Blues Jr. That old tube amp. And I'm sure that there are some solid state amps out there that that sound okay, but nothing beats a tube amp. I don't think anything can really beat a tube amp.
Not to me.
No.
Definitely. Yeah, you have that warmth that they're getting close.
Yeah.
But it's funny, all the digital amps. I'm looking at one off camera now. All these digital amps, a lot of times will have like these amp settings that'll sound like a 65 Bassman or a Princeton or a Twin Reverb or something like that. They're getting close. I mean, it's not all the way there yet, but it's it's getting there.
Well, just like with going digital, recording wise, I mean, you've been messing with a lot of amp models and pedal, and so I mean
that's what's taking up all my time. I haven't recorded anything because it's like, oh man, I can here's a Marshall. Oh, here's a, here's a Princeton. I mean, even Vox. I mean, I'm using a Cakewalk.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's amazing. All the crap that's on there. It's, and just effortlessly too. If you want a different amp, just click your mouse, drag it over.
That's where we are.
Yeah.
And nothing beats the real thing, but like you said, they are getting closer. And for me, unless somebody is a tone snob, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell the difference nowadays. I mean, unless you just pointed it out and said, oh yeah, I used a Marshall simulator. I didn't use a real Marshall. I mean,
yeah, and when you record, it's the clearer, the cleaner you can get, the better. In fact, the last guitar I bought actually had a Fender noiseless pickups installed, so there's no, they're already low hum, but I mean just even lower, just it sounds like your stuff's going out, or you need to dust off your pedals or something, but I think the way we listen to music nowadays kind of, most people don't listen to music on big loud. I mean, it used to be when you walk in someone's house, I mean, they had a stereo.
Yeah, an actual stereo. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I still do, but a lot of people don't. And it's different when you listen to music on a stereo versus headphones versus, a little Bluetooth speaker.
Right.
I mean, if you're listening on a little Bluetooth speaker, you're not going to be able to tell what kind of amp someone's using. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly.
Versus, I mean, people actually used to spend quite a bit of money. I mean, you'd invest in a sound system, and maybe that's what we were talking about too, as far as back to COVID. The how we spent our time.
Yeah.
And with me, and especially with the elections, and I'm pretty apolitical. And,
same here.
I don't. I'd rather listen to music, and that's usually what I have going. I mean, on my living room's usually tunes over over just letting the news just run on a loop all day. Getting into our brains, and I think it's therapeutic. I mean, I know a lot of people who they're just too dialed in, and it's I think it's good to kind of take a break from social media and
that too,
and everything, and just kind of
And that's like we were talking off camera. I had an hour break between guitar lessons, and I had a choice. I could either be, watching the news, social media, but I chose to record. Like you said, it's therapeutic. Why in the world would I want to depress myself on purpose? I think there's enough of that going on that, I just...
Yeah. Right.
And time management, that's the other thing, too.
Yeah. Well, people used to listen to music more, I think. It goes back to like the stereo in the living room. People used to listen to music, and people, you could listen to a song and have a conversation about it. And it usually wouldn't get real heated.
Right.
You know what I mean? But now, like, you get a Democrat and a Republican, they're just ready to rip each other's heads off.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like music is kind of a free zone where you can kind of, just be, be yourself and not worry about offending anybody or whatever.
Right.
So
unless, somebody doesn't, like, offensive language in a certain song, I get that, but it's no more than watching a rated R show on Netflix. I mean, but I think people are more offended politically than they are the F word in a song or on a movie. I mean, I watched a movie on Netflix. What's it called? Mile 22. It's got Mark Wahlberg. And I'll be damned if they say the F word. It was like every other sentence. It was like, F this, F this. I'm like, I mean, it didn't offend me, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, I think y'all are going a little overboard now, just a little overboard. I mean, I understand what you're doing. But we were talking about pedals. Speaking of the digital version versus having a physical pedal, both of us have pedal boards. In fact, you actually made my pedal board. So I actually pulled a couple off of mine. Now the story behind this. Now Brian over here is responsible for me being a tone chaser.
The dark side.
The dark side.
Dun, dun, dun.
Play some dark music for the occasion. Dark, baby, it's dark.
Get dark.
But that's where I was yesterday. I spent half my day in the studio, and I wasn't really planning on recording per se because I was dialing in tones. So I ran across a couple pedals. Once again, just trying to dial in the sound and here's another reason to have more than one guitar. The first guitar is using, actually both were Les Pauls. One has some hotter pickups than the other. So I actually had to use two different guitars, one for the clean, one for the distortion. But this here is a boutique pedal. It's made by PhD Pedals here in Waco, Texas, where Brian and I are hometowns. And this bad boy, it's a boutique brand. They're not cheap. It's not like buying a Boss DS1, but if you want that grunge sound or post-grunge, think Alice in Chains, for instance, or Nirvana. This gives you that kind of a fuzz, that grunge fuzz. So once I dialed it in, it gave me just the right tones that I needed for my distorted part on the song I'm working on called Redemption. So it's a great pedal. Yeah. It is.
Nice. Do you find yourself having to turn the dial the pedal back, or do you feel like?
Oh, I have to dial it back. In fact, here I actually have the gain. I have the gain all the way down to 0. I know it's backwards, but this thing is so badass that I actually once again, now if I was playing through my amp, I would have to turn up the gain just a little bit. But for recording, as you know, it's a little bit more finicky, so you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
But the song I'm working on is kind of a Creed-like sound, like I said, post-grunge. So the gain, the gain's all the way down, and I still get that nice meaty Alice in Chains type fuzz.
Yeah. Nice.
So what?
Yeah, I've been looking at the Jerry Cantrell wah pedal. He has his own signature wah, but you can dial. It has a dial on it where you can dial back. Because a wah pedal kind of has a high end and a low end.
Yeah.
And Alice in Chains kind of uses that low end growl, or like Kirk Hammett from Metallica uses more of the high end.
Right.
And now they both have signature pedals. So, go figure. I don't know. I actually bought a looper.
What's that like?
I bought it like 2 years ago, and I just now started really using it. Because at first I was like, I can't figure this out, Well, one, it's a great practice tool.
Yeah.
And kind of a writing tool. Because if I come up with a rhythm, I can play the rhythm and basically record myself playing that rhythm.
Yeah.
And then just with the tap of the pedal, plays it back. I can play a lead over it. Which, if I had it hooked up right now, I'd demonstrate. Maybe next video.
Yeah.
But no, it's a great. If you perform, it'd be a great performance tool, especially if it's solo. I could see it some acoustic type stuff maybe, but the pedal of the. Which is nothing. It's people have gotten into loopers for years, but
I've always wondered about loopers. Really? So would you say that? Are there any recording aspects you could apply the looper, or would you say it's more practice or more live stuff that you would use it for?
Probably more practice and more live.
Okay.
Because it's a live pedal.
Okay.
Basically, I'm sure if you were recording yourself in a live setting, because I thought about doing some kind of session type stuff where it's live, but more acoustic type stuff. But yeah, I got to get better at the pedal though before that, because it's an instrument in itself as far as when to engage and disengage.
Oh yeah, it's timing, isn't it?
Level. There's more there's timing, and then there's more complicated. There's more complex. Because I think I can lay down like 2 tracks on top of each other and then play over it.
Wow.
I haven't figured that one. I've just started with the first one.
Yeah.
So, and I threw away the instructions. So. Good luck
Oh
with
my
that.
gosh.
It's like, I don't need these. Just take it out of the box and plug it in.
I know about guitar gear, music gear. I don't need these instructions.
Nobody's going to tell me how to use a guitar pedal.
Come on. You kidding me?
No, I wish somebody would tell me how to use this guitar pedal. So
YouTube videos, which is where we're going to be here in just a little bit, but you know, the other thing, and I would have to say, out of recording in general, I would have to say my biggest Achilles heel is miking an amp and have it sound good. I hear, you know, if you take probably the most popular microphone, the Shure SM57,
mm-hmm.
you know, you put it up right against the speaker cone. Some people say in the middle, some people say somewhere towards the outside. To me, it doesn't give me the sound that I'm looking for. So what I did, Strymon, another boutique company, they actually make a pedal. It's an amp and cab simulator called the Iridium. I realize it's backwards. It's called the Iridium pedal. When I plug my isosceles through this, it you know, you say how close or whatever it is, but
mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the cleanest way to get a Vox amp without actually going out and spending $700 to buy an actual AC-15 or AC-30 or another $600, $700 to buy a Marshall. You know, the pedal retails for about $400, maybe a little bit more, but damn it, you get 3 amps and 3 cabs, and
mm-hmm.
so
yeah, I have a kind of a cheaper model, which I was just looking. I have no idea where it is at the moment, but it's kind of the same thing. It's an amp sim, you know, and it's mine has 3. You know, it's like a, you know, it's a, I don't know what kind of Fender. I mean, probably maybe a Bassman, you know, a Marshall, and then something from the '60s or '60s Brit rock kind of thing. Kind of a DI box, kind of the, you know. So I've used that quite a bit too. It doesn't sound as good as the Blues Junior, but it records better. You know, it's you don't have to mess with the amp or the mic or the. Honestly, and the recordings I've done, I'm the happiest with. We're, you know, the most direct recording. You know.
Yeah.
And actually, with my stuff, you know, I should never have to plug a microphone in.
Right.
You know, I mean, unless vocals or something. But for guitar, you know.
And that's
shit. Now I just plug right into the computer. I plug right into the audio interface. I've got 100 amps right there. So,
and once
welcome
again,
to the future.
Yeah, and once again, who is really going to notice? I mean, unless you're picking up certain nuances, you're like, oh, I don't hear the quote-unquote warmth from your AC-30 simulator. Well, okay. Well, if I need to, I mean, I'm sure there's a plug-in on Logic, or what are you using again? Cakewalk? That's right, Cakewalk.
Yep.
And you know, we can add warmth. You know, there's plugins that you can simulate. I think there's one that you can simulate that vinyl crackle. I mean, once again, these aren't real, but people. I don't think people want real. I mean, just think about all the times people record vocals, which I've never done this, but vocal processing. I've never done that. I can't remember
it's a whole other.
It sounds like a robot, and people like that, I guess. I mean, do you really think
now the big thing with rappers is they all use auto tune?
That's it, auto tune. That's it.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, they have it cranked all the way to 10, so
it sounds robotic. It doesn't even sound
real. You could have
real.
Big Bird singing, and it would sound exactly, you know.
You know, and I'm not going to knock Taylor Swift or Britney Spears, but don't think for 1 second that Taylor Swift actually sounds like that, like when you're listening to her on Apple Music. Same thing live. You don't think she's using auto-tune live?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they have a lot piped in, too.
Sure.
You know, where if they miss something, you know.
Yeah.
But then again, if I, you know, if we were as pretty as Taylor Swift and Britney Spears, you know,
I guess it wouldn't
we
matter.
Wouldn't need guitars. You know,
maybe get a boo job or something. No, I didn't say that. But
yeah, hey, I'm up for it. Go big or go home, right?
Hey, I mean, it is the 21st century. Times, I don't want to get too deep in this, but times have changed.
Times have changed.
That's
definitely.
Right. But anyways, we just wanted to touch base with y'all and just kind of let y'all know what we've been doing during COVID. Throw some pedal chat in there, and just kind of get back. So
get back in the groove.
That's right. So don't forget to follow, subscribe. And we are still donate. Yes. Donate to my beer fund.
Send us money.
Yeah. Brian needs donations for his cigar and beer, and I need donations for my beer fund. So feel free to donate.
This gear, it doesn't buy itself, you know.
That's right. It does not buy itself.
Cool.
All right. Well,
all right, folks. Until next time.
See you next time.